In a sprawling Texas mansion surrounded by perfectly manicured lawns and golden oak trees, 12-year-old Sophia Carter sat in her wheelchair by the large bay window of her sunlit bedroom. The world outside seemed vast and inviting, yet she could only watch it pass by. Born with a rare spinal condition, she had been wheelchair-bound since infancy. Money had never been a concern for her family. Her father, Richard Carter, 55, a self-made oil tycoon, spared no expense in providing for her every need. Specialists, therapists, and the most advanced treatments were flown in from around the world, yet none could offer the miracle Sophia longed for. Days blurred into each other with her sitting quietly, staring at the distant horizon, wondering if she would ever experience life beyond the confines of her chair. Despite the luxury surrounding her, Sophia often felt trapped. Her room was filled with expensive toys, educational tools, and medical equipment that promised progress but delivered little. Her world was quiet, except for the occasional chatter of the mansion staff, the soft hum of the air conditioning, and the faint sounds of traffic from the nearby highway. Sophia's eyes often lingered on the garden below, where children could play freely, racing across the grass or swinging from tree branches, their laughter filling the air. She longed to join them, to feel the earth beneath her feet, the wind brushing her face, the exhilaration of movement. But no amount of money, technology, or medical expertise could replicate the freedom she craved. Her parents' wealth, while vast, felt powerless against the limitations imposed on her own body. One summer afternoon, the mansion's chauffeur guided the limousine out of the driveway for a charity visit to a rural farm near the outskirts of the city. Sophia, curious as ever, positioned herself near the window, her hands resting on the armrest. As the sleek car glided over the country roads, she scanned the landscape, endless fields of green, the occasional cluster of wildflowers, and the glimmer of a distant pond where cattle grazed lazily. Amidst the serene scenery, her gaze settled on a young man working the fields. Luke, Bennett, 27, with sun-kissed skin, calloused hands, and a wide-brimmed hat shielding his eyes from the sun, seemed immersed in his work. He moved with quiet determination, handling the soil and plants with practiced care. Unlike the polished, well-groomed staff Sophia was used to, Luke's presence exuded authenticity, simplicity, and strength. There was an unpretentious dignity in his every gesture that drew her attention. The limousine's engine unexpectedly sputtered and came to a halt near the edge of the farm, sending a minor ripple of concern through the staff. The chauffeur sighed, muttering under his breath as he tried to restart the vehicle, but it refused to respond. Richard Carter, always accustomed to control and precision, frowned in frustration. "This is unacceptable," he muttered sharply, adjusting his cufflinks. The staff hurried to inspect the engine, but the problem seemed complicated. Sophia, her curiosity piqued, turned her attention back to Luke, who had noticed the halted limousine and was slowly approaching. His eyes met hers for a brief moment, warm, calm, and reassuring. Without hesitation, he walked to the vehicle and offered his assistance. Luke knelt beside the car, assessing the engine with his experienced gaze. His fingers moved confidently over the mechanical parts, probing, turning, and testing, despite having only the tools he carried in a simple leather pouch strapped to his belt. "Mind if I take a look?" he asked politely, his voice calm and steady. Sophia, intrigued, nodded slightly, her face lighting up with a glimmer of hope she hadn't felt in years. The chauffeur hesitated, unsure about this rugged stranger offering help, but Richard's impatience left him no choice. Luke worked quietly, his brow furrowed in concentration, ignoring the opulent surroundings, focusing solely on the mechanical problem at hand. The contrast between his humble determination and the lavish extravagance of the limousine created a peculiar harmony that caught Sophia's attention completely. As Luke tinkered with the engine, Sophia couldn't help but observe his hands. They were rough and scarred from years of hard labor, yet moved with precision and care. Each adjustment he made seemed effortless, almost artistic, as if the engine responded to his touch. The young farmer muttered softly under his breath, explaining his steps as though teaching someone invisible. Sophia leaned closer to the window, fascinated. Unlike the doctors and specialists she had seen, who often relied on complex machines and intimidating terminology, Luke worked intuitively. It was a simplicity born of experience, an understanding of mechanics that didn't require a title or a degree. His confidence was magnetic, drawing Sophia's imagination and curiosity into his world. Minutes passed, feeling like hours, and finally Luke straightened, wiping sweat from his brow. "Try it now," he said, giving a small nod to the chauffeur. With a hesitant turn of the key, the engine roared to life, smooth and powerful. Sophia clapped her hands softly, unable to contain her excitement. For the first time that day, she felt the thrill of witnessing someone accomplish something remarkable, not through wealth or influence, but through skill, determination, and a willingness to help. Luke looked up, giving her a reassuring smile, and she returned it, a small spark of joy lighting up her face. Richard Carter emerged from the vehicle, his expression shifting from frustration to incredulity. "You fixed it?" he asked, his voice carrying both disbelief and reluctant admiration. Luke merely shrugged, modest yet composed. "It was nothing, sir, just needed a careful touch," he replied. Sophia's gaze lingered on him, marveling not just at the accomplishment, but at the kindness and calm he exuded amidst a world she had always known to be filled with urgency and demand. For a fleeting moment, she forgot about her limitations, imagining a life where challenges could be overcome with patience, skill, and belief. As the limousine restarted and the driver exhaled in relief, Sophia turned her eyes back to Luke. She noticed details she hadn't seen before: the gentle crease of his brow as he concentrated, the deliberate movements of his hands, and the soft, quiet confidence that seemed to radiate from him. He wasn't rich, well-connected, or polished like the adults in her life, yet he possessed a kind of power far removed from money or status, the power to act, to help, and to inspire hope. Sophia's heart swelled with a mixture of admiration and a newfound curiosity, as though she had glimpsed a secret of the world that no luxurious mansion could provide. As the limo finally pulled away, Luke waved, his smile steady and warm. Sophia waved back, her eyes wide and gleaming with wonder. In that brief encounter, a seed had been planted, a realization that courage, humility, and a willingness to help could achieve miracles even in the smallest of ways. That day, Sophia's world, once confined by medical equipment and impossibilities, expanded just a little, filled with the faint glow of possibility. She imagined a future where someone might help her not with machines or money, but with patience, belief, and care. Though the limousine disappeared over the horizon, Sophia's mind lingered on Luke. She thought of his hands, his calm demeanor, and the way he had looked at her, not as a patient, but as a person. In the following days, she would recall the gentle spark she felt that afternoon, a spark that whispered to her that life might hold surprises she had never imagined. And somewhere on that quiet farm, Luke returned to his work, unaware of the profound effect his simple act of helping had on the girl in the luxurious mansion. Luke's small farm became an unexpected sanctuary for Sophia. Each day after her lessons at the mansion, she found herself pleading to visit the farm again, despite her father's concerns. The fields, the open air, and Luke's calm presence created a world unlike the sterile rooms of clinics and therapy centers. Sophia's wheelchair remained by the edge of the barn, while Luke guided her through exercises that focused on balance, posture, and strength. He used simple techniques, holding her hands as she tried to rise, using sturdy wooden beams for support, and even turning hay bales into obstacles that encouraged movement. Each session, she felt a flicker of independence she had never known. At first, Sophia's legs resisted her weight. Every attempt to stand brought trembling and uncertainty. She would fall back into the wheelchair, frustration clouding her face. Yet Luke's patient voice never wavered. "You can do this," he said gently. "One step at a time. Trust yourself." Sophia began to internalize his words. She tried, again, shifting her weight carefully, her toes gripping the grass. Luke's guidance was unlike any therapy she had. Experienced, no machines, no expensive equipment, just a human belief that she could succeed. Slowly, she began to feel a connection between mind, body, and confidence. Word of Sophia's determination spread quietly among the farm animals and the few neighbors who caught glimpses of her. Training. Luke adapted exercises to be both fun and challenging. He tied small ropes between posts for her to hold as she practiced standing. He laid wooden planks on the ground for balance practice. Sometimes he used the farm dog to encourage her to move, turning ordinary moments into motivation. Sophia began looking forward to these visits. Laughter returned, small but genuine, echoing across the farm. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, and for the first time in years, she felt capable, hopeful, and free from the confines of her condition. Richard Carter observed these changes with a mixture of fascination and concern. He had always believed money could solve any problem. Machines, specialists, and advanced therapy had always been his solutions. Yet here was a simple farmer, using intuition, patience, and encouragement, achieving what all the world's doctors had failed to do. The contrast frustrated him at first, but he could not deny the results. Sophia's energy had returned. Her posture was improving. Most importantly, she smiled and laughed in ways she hadn't in years. Slowly, Richard's skepticism gave way to cautious admiration. Luke never pressured Sophia. Each session was guided by her pace. On some days, she refused to try exercises, choosing to rest instead. Luke respected her limits while still encouraging progress. "Strength isn't built in a day," he reminded her, offering a hand for support. His method was gentle, instinctive, and adaptable. Unlike the clinical, impersonal approaches she had experienced, his care was intimate and human. Sophia began trusting herself more. The fear that once paralyzed her body began to fade, replaced by determination and small triumphs that grew larger with each attempt. Confidence became the engine of her progress. By midsummer, Sophia could stand with Luke's support for several minutes. She wobbled and trembled, but she remained upright. Every tiny success was celebrated. Luke clapped and cheered, and Sophia laughed aloud, the sound ringing across the farm. She began attempting small steps, moving from post to post. Each day the distance grew, her muscles strengthened, her balance improved, and a new rhythm emerged. The once fragile girl was becoming a young woman with courage, determination, and independence. Every step was a victory, every stumble a lesson, and Luke remained patient and encouraging throughout. Sophia's transformation was not only physical, but emotional. Confidence replaced fear. Joy replaced frustration. The connection she felt with Luke went beyond teacher and student. It was built on trust and respect and genuine care. She confided in him, sharing her dreams of running, dancing, and exploring the world without limits. Luke listened and encouraged, turning fantasies into achievable goals. The farm, once a backdrop of simplicity, became a laboratory of resilience where determination and belief overcame limitations that medicine had deemed permanent. Each day brought new progress, and with it, a stronger bond between the girl and the farmer who believed in her. Richard Carter watched from a distance, torn between fear and admiration. On one hand, he worried about his daughter and the potential risks of such unconventional therapy. On the other, he could not deny the remarkable changes. Sophia's posture, her courage, and most importantly, her happiness had dramatically improved. The simple, authentic care of Luke had succeeded where wealth, science, and expertise had failed. Slowly, Richard began to appreciate the value of human connection, patience, and faith in one's abilities. Lessons no amount of money. Goodbye. The family, once defined by wealth and isolation, began to see the possibilities of hope and trust. By late summer, Sophia could take a few tentative steps with Luke's assistance. Her movements were shaky and careful, yet filled with joy and determination. Each session built on the last, and the fear that once gripped her body faded in the warmth of encouragement. Her laughter, once silent, became a constant presence. Luke continued to refine exercises, always attentive to her limits while gently pushing boundaries. The farm became a symbol of freedom, a place where miracles could happen not through machines or money, but through patience, belief, and human kindness. Sophia had begun walking, and nothing would ever be the same. So, morning air was crisp and bright as Luke guided Sophia to the center of the farm's wide-open field. Dew clung to the grass, glinting in the sunlight, while birds chirped softly overhead. Sophia's heart pounded in her chest. Anticipation and fear mingled in equal measure. Luke's hands were steady and warm, holding hers gently but firmly. "You've come so far, Sophia," he whispered. "Now take your first step." Her legs quivered, trembling under the weight of expectation and the unfamiliar sensation of balance. She swallowed hard, drew a shaky breath, and focused on the ground before her. Her first attempt was hesitant, one foot lifted, then the other wobbling as though her body were relearning itself. Luke's encouraging voice never faltered. "I'm right here, you can do it." Sophia's arms gripped his tightly, knuckles white, but determination sparked in her eyes. Step by step, she moved forward, feeling the grass press beneath her feet for the first time. The sensation was strange yet exhilarating, and a rush of joy surged through her entire body. Every muscle worked in coordination, teaching her how to trust herself. Richard, standing at the edge of the field, felt his breath catch. Tears blurred his vision as he watched his daughter take those first tentative steps. He had spent years trying every treatment imaginable, from the world's top clinics to cutting-edge therapies abroad, yet nothing had yielded results. And here she was, walking in the simple sunlit field of a small farm, guided by a humble young man with no medical degree, no fame, no fortune, just belief, patience, and care. The irony struck him profoundly. Wealth had failed where humility had triumphed. With each passing step, Sophia's confidence grew. Her gait became more balanced, though still cautious. She let out a giggle, the purest sound, resonant and free, echoing across the open space. Luke smiled widely, pride radiating from his eyes. "That's it, Sophia. You're walking." He cheered. Neighbors who had gathered quietly to witness the moment erupted in applause, their hearts moved by the spectacle. Sophia's cheeks flushed, a combination of exertion and delight, as she realized that she was finally walking on her own. Her laughter filled the air like music. Luke adjusted his hands slightly, giving her more freedom while maintaining support. "Take your time," he said gently. "There's no rush." Each careful step was celebrated. Sophia's legs were still unsteady, but the fear that had held her captive for 12 long years began to fade. The farm, once merely a plot of land with crops and animals, had become a place of transformation, where miracles unfolded in the hands of the determined. Sophia began to experiment, moving forward a few steps without assistance, and Luke clapped proudly beside her. Richard approached slowly, tears streaming freely down his face. He knelt to meet his daughter's eye level, overwhelmed with emotions he could barely name. "I can't believe this. I can't believe my little girl is walking," he whispered, voice choked with awe. Sophia turned toward him, a bright smile spreading across her face, her eyes shining with newfound independence. The father-daughter bond deepened in that instant, strengthened not by wealth or status, but by the shared triumph over adversity. The moment was sacred, unforgettable, and life-changing. Over the next hour, Sophia took increasingly longer strides, each step bolstered by courage and Luke's gentle guidance. They navigated around hay, bales, the barn, and the farm's uneven terrain. She laughed with delight, feeling sensations she had never experienced. Before the cool touch of the grass, the warm sunlight on her skin, and the sense of control over her own body. Luke's approach, blending patience, intuition, and care, had succeeded where conventional medicine had failed. Each step was a testament to persistence, human connection, and the extraordinary potential of belief. Once Sophia could walk confidently across the main field, Luke helped her stand near the barn, where the farm's shade offered relief from the sun. Richard approached with a renewed sense of humility and gratitude. "Luke," he said, his voice steady but emotional, "you've given my daughter something no money or science ever could. I want to offer you a partnership, a foundation, to help children like Sophia walk again." Luke blinked in surprise, humbled by the offer. He had never sought wealth, recognition, or accolades. His satisfaction lay in witnessing Sophia's joy and transformation. The foundation soon became a reality. Luke's farm was converted into a hub for mobility development and physical rehabilitation for children with special needs. Families traveled from across Texas to witness the methods he had pioneered: simple, patient, and human-focused exercises that empowered children. Sophia herself often returned, now walking confidently, teaching younger children by example and sharing the laughter she had once been denied. Her presence inspired hope, proving that miracles could happen in the hands of those who believed in possibility rather than statistics. In the weeks that followed, Sophia's first steps were celebrated not just by her family, but by the wider community. Stories spread of a billionaire's daughter walking thanks to a humble farmer. Media outlets visited the farm, documenting the transformation. Yet for Luke, the fame was secondary. What mattered was the spark of independence in Sophia's eyes, the laughter echoing freely, and the knowledge that perseverance, care, and belief could rewrite destinies. Richard, once reliant on money alone, learned to value patience, faith, and genuine connection. The experience reshaped all their lives. Sophia grew into a confident young woman, no longer defined by her disability, but by her courage and determination. Richard became more compassionate, understanding that wealth alone cannot solve all problems. And Luke, once a simple farmer, found purpose and respect, demonstrating that humility, skill, and heart could impact lives far beyond expectation. Sophia's first steps were a symbol, a living proof that miracles are sometimes hidden in the hands of the humble, and that belief, patience, and kindness can overcome even the most entrenched limitations.